Amen. Not only am I an addict, but I'm also scared shitless. Right? Thank you. I was having a conversation with my 5-year-old son yesterday. We were pulling up on the highway. He goes, "I'm a little scared, Daddy." And I said, "That's great. Because if we're a little scared, we use that word so we can find our courage." So I'm using that right now. Whew. So thank you, Mountaineer Region, for having me. This is truly an honor. First time I got riplified was in 2013. I had like maybe 2 years clean. And I sat here in the back of this room with my back against the wall going, "Man, I wonder what it's like up there talking shit." Here we are. Yeah, I'm really happy to be here. I truly believe in this program with every breath I have. This program changed my life, saved my life, and gave me a life worth living. I came to my first NA meeting August 14, 2011. And I didn't come into the NA meeting because I wonder what the lights are on in that church, or I wonder how good that shitty coffee is. I came in here because my life sucked, right? It wasn't until I had a few years clean in here when we started reading We Do Recover, when it says when at the end of the road we can no longer function as a human being, either with or without drugs. What is there left to do, right? At that point in my life, I was using to exist, and I didn't want to exist anymore. The drugs weren't working, and I was broken, and I remember waking up in junk cars down on Wolf Street, where I live in Syracuse. It was like an 85-degree day, and I remember waking up all covered with puke and piss and sweat, and wondering how I'm going to get high today. And it just sucked. And it's not because I didn't have a place to live. I just didn't go home, because why go home if I was going to go back out and use again? This is the reality of my story, and I'm sure everybody knows how to get high and mess their life up, so I'm not going to go on with that. But August 14th is a day because I had a friend of mine, he did a 3 to 5 bid in prison, and he had tattoos from his knuckles up to his neck. He was this big Irish mountain of a man from the west side of Syracuse, and he had one of those red key tags, right? And he had 90 days clean. He goes, "I'm in recovery." I go, "What's that?" He goes, "I've got 90 days clean, I'm in recovery." I said, "Great." And I thought he knew everything about recovery because, when I had 90 days, I knew that shit too. But anyway, I was like working 7 days a week, so I didn't have to deal with the reality of what I was doing. And he says to me, he goes, "What the hell's wrong with you?" I said, "It's August 14th. I said, "It's my kid's birthday, and I can't kill myself today." So my friend Jason, he said, "You look like shit. You look like you need a meeting. Why don't you let me take you to a meeting?" Right? And so, okay, August 14th, I won't do it, but maybe August 15th, I'll take a walk out in the woods and blow my head off, right? And he says, "I'm going to take you to a meeting, and it's probably going to freak you out. These guys are going to hug. We don't shake hands." It still freaks me out. But I remember going into this meeting, and I remember doing all these readings like we just did a minute ago, and I thought they were just like some kind of disclaimer in case somebody overdosed and died after the meeting. So I was like, and I kept going to meetings and I kept reading them. I'm like, "Man, I already got it the first time. What the fuck are you doing?" And but that wasn't it. I don't remember a lot about that first meeting, but it says in our literature that we were intimidated and captivated at the same time, right? I didn't know a lot about recovery then, and some days I still don't, but you know what? For that hour and a half, I didn't feel alone, right? I wasn't able to eat or sleep in like 3 weeks, but that night I was able to eat and sleep, right? So being a dope fiend, that's what I did. I have this conversation with my sponsor all the time. He calls me, he goes, "You're a good dope fiend, aren't you?" I said, "The best," right? And because, when I was using, I went to the same place every day till either the shit ran out or it went bad, right? Well, I've been doing this almost 12 years and the shit ain't ran out yet. All right? I went to that meeting. They handed me a meeting list. It said, "Don't use and go to meetings." 90 meetings in 90 days, right? So, I was able to eat and sleep. So I just kept going, right? And so I went to my second meeting. And I was at a meeting in downtown Syracuse, and it's not a diverse neighborhood, and I felt like the whitest man in the world down there, right? There's like 60 dudes down there, and me. And is this anyone's first time at this meeting? And I go, well, I'm in the back like this, right? And these 60 dudes all bummed up and rushed up me like this, and like, yeah, you know. I had my friend Kelvin, he's still around, and he said to me, I'm sitting down there with my back against the wall, and he says to me, he goes, are you scared, boy? Yeah. He goes, well, you weren't scared when you were down here at 3 a.m. popping dope, don't be scared now. So, you know, he's still around, and every time he walks into a meeting, he just goes, yep, thanks, Cal. So, but anyway, I was at this meeting downtown Syracuse, and it happened to be a speaker meeting, right? And there was this young girl, this young lady up there. She was about 30 years old, and she had just celebrated 15 years clean. I thought, that's bullshit. How could somebody come in here at 15 years old and stay clean? Well, anyway, she was there with her father, and he had 23 years clean, right? And so they got me a meeting list, right? And that guy made it a point to come over and talk to me, right? And here I am nervous, and he said, we were talking about how I got all these crazy thoughts in my head, and I just need something to hold me together. He goes, you know, I got this committee in my head that tells me how to make money, but you know what? I still got veto power, right? And I said, cool, because I had that committee too, right? And this guy was the total polar opposite of me. He had a tie-dye, croc-wearing hippie, you know. And I said, well, what I'm looking for is a sponsor. And he says, right on, man. Call that number. So I walked out of that meeting, okay? And, you know, because I had that meeting list that said, you know, don't use, go to meetings. You know, give a home group, be of service, get a sponsor, right? So I left my second meeting, right? And then I went into my third meeting the next night, and I walked into this church that I've never been in before, and I said, hey, I need a service commitment, and I need a home group, right? And these ladies, they aggressively volunteered me. I have another term, I call it they dope fiended me, but they came up to me, they gave me a $20 bill, they gave me the keys to the building. They said, show up next week 45 minutes early, you set up the chairs, you make 2 pots of coffee, you get the readings out. And here I am holding this key and this $20 bill going, man, these people are fucked up. They just gave this violent criminal $20 gas money and the keys to the building to rob the place. Here I was, 92 pounds, track marks up and down both arms. I said, yeah, these people are fucked up, right? But anyway, I left my third meeting, right? I had a sponsor, I had a home group, and I had a service commitment, okay? That shit's important. You know why? Because a couple weeks ago, I do an H&I commitment at the Cayuga County Jail. One of the inmates asked me, goes, well, what do you do to still stay clean? So I got a sponsor, I got a service commitment, and I got a home group. Simplicity is the key to our program. It's the first sentence of the basic text. I'll get back to that. So, you know, the meetings were helping me eat and sleep, so I did that, right? And I think my whole program for the first 3 months was don't use and go to a meeting, right? And I'd be sitting there at the back of the meeting with my back against the wall going, okay, 45 more minutes, I'll have another day clean. And that was my whole program for a while. And people would ask me, goes, what was your greatest milestone in your recovery? I tell them that 30-day key tag. Because I've been doing this a month, right? And I've been sitting at a meeting and somebody goes, well, who's got 30 days? And I stood up and I had tears running down my face, right? Because, you know, I had been doing this for a whole month and every fiber in my body told me I couldn't do it. And I said to myself, just maybe I can stop doing drugs. I wasn't ready for, you know, losing the desire to use or finding a new way to live yet. But you know what? I just got that little bit of hope, right? You know, I heard all these different words that I never heard before. I never heard the word serenity before, right? I never heard the word surrender before, right? Well, I did, you know, but I was like, I surrendered to the program of Narcotics Anonymous. I had to surrender. And I said to my sponsor, I said, what a bunch of fucking pussies. looked at him, I said, "Thanks, when you believe that shit, where I come from, we don't surrender. We fucking die." He goes, "Exactly. You want to die, do what you're doing. You want to live, do this." So there it was. I was like, well, I had that, and then I didn't know what serenity was. Everybody's saying this serenity prayer all the time, right? So, I didn't know what that was, right? So I usually called my sponsor about, 1:45, 1 o'clock in the morning, Hello? Hey, man, what the fuck is serenity? And he goes, all right, I'm going to explain this in a way that you're going to understand. He goes, when you necessarily, when you picked up your drugs and you're not necessarily used yet, but you're heading home, and right in that moment, everything was going to be all right? I said, yeah. Well, that's serenity. That moment of peace where you know that everything's going to be all right. So I started looking for that, and I didn't find it until I had around 18 months clean, where I had a moment, where it's just like I knew everything was going to be okay. In that moment, I knew I was going to eat, I was going to have a place to sleep, and I had a day clean. And now I keep searching for longer and longer moments of that serenity. And so, I had been on a hell of a ride, and my whole program was don't use and go to meetings for like the first 6 or 8 months. I loitered with the intent to recovery, and I hated that term. And I didn't start set work till I had around 9 months, and I got into an altercation with an NA member after a meeting in a restaurant, and I got booted out one of my favorite restaurants, right? This is my story, man, and I called my sponsor from the parking lot of my apartment building. I called him and said, yeah, he said this, I went at him, they had to separate us, I got my ass thrown out. He said, slow down. He goes, did you hit him? I said, no. Were the cops there? No. He goes, we can fix this. And he said to me, do you want what we have to offer? Are you willing to make the effort to get it? I went, damn, where have I heard that? He says, don't wait until life puts you in a situation where you have to do step work. Don't wait until you're in a jail cell before you start writing on your steps. And that's all I needed to hear. And I started writing, right? It was real easy for me to admit at the beginning that I was powerless over my addiction and my life was unmanageable, But I had to learn that I was also powerless over other people. And he taught me this thing called the first step filter that if you're powerless over somebody else, why you let them have power over you? A huge thing, right? Because I was taking my outside behaviors into the meetings at NA. And, I couldn't go to this meeting because I didn't like what this guy said to me. I didn't like the way this girl talked to me. And by the end of the week, I was running out of meetings, right? So I called my sponsor up and he says, well, what's the common denominator? Who's the asshole? And he said, you know what? I'd go to those meetings where those people don't like you just to be a problem. I'm sure you know how to do that. I sure did. And I showed up. Oh, that meeting you don't like me? I'm going to sit up in the front row. I'm going to smile. I'm here to ruin your NA meeting, baby. And I did it. And it kept me going. And by the time, they found somebody else, to focus their attention on, and I forgot all about it, and I still kept coming, So, I learned to do that. And right well when I got to step 2, right, that best friend of mine who brought me to my first meeting, saved my life, right? He got this thing, I call it the big 3. He got the job, he got the car, and he got the girlfriend. And all of a sudden, he wasn't an addict anymore. He stopped going to meetings, And, first it started out with a drink or a trip to the casino, and then all of a sudden it stopped answering my phone calls, right? And so, got to be Christmas Eve 2012, and my phone rings. I answer the phone. It's like 8:30 in the morning. I said, Merry Christmas. And it was Jay's father. He goes, I just found Jay dead from a heroin overdose. I sat right down in the street and cried because I wasn't done being his friend. And we were supposed to be in this shit together, right? So I go into this meeting on Christmas Eve, and everybody's happy because it's the day before Christmas. And I go in this meeting crying my eyes out, right? And I said, drugs suck, and I hate this fucking disease. Can somebody please help me? And all these people that I didn't like, and all these people that I gave shit to, they all got up and gave me a hug and told me everything was going to be all right. That was my second step in action. I was becoming to believe that a power greater than myself could restore me to sanity. Because while these guys were hugging me and said, I want this shit, show me how to do this. I didn't leave the house for that Christmas for like 3 days because I couldn't imagine his daughter waking up and not having her dad on Christmas. And you know what? The power greater than me that could restore me to sanity were the people in these rooms who've been through the worst things that life can give you and still don't use no matter what. No matter what. I've seen people lose their children, lose their jobs, and have their marriage fall apart, their kids die, and they still don't find the need to use, right? And I said, if that fucking guy can do it, I can. So I kept coming, right? And I kept applying this stuff in my life because it was all I had, people said, you got such a good program. I said, well, I wasn't really given a choice. I had 2 days clean and somebody told me, you're either going to get this shit or you're going to die. What are you going to do? So I did it, right? And after about 2 years clean, some damn fool asked me to sponsor them, right? I said, all these spiritual giants we got in here and all these good sharing on us, why would you pick me? And I didn't have to ask it. I just said, my first sponsor told me, he said, when these guys ask you to sponsor them, you sponsor them. So I did, right? And I kept going, right? And then when you start sponsoring, you get that talk with your sponsor, and he says to you, he goes, you're going to have to accept the fact that once in a while one of these kids will probably go out and use. I said, yeah, I know, I've seen it happen. I said, well, what are you going to do if one of them dies? I said, I'm a tough guy, I can handle it. I sponsored this kid for 15 months, right? And he rode on their steps, and he got as far as step 3, right? And he kept taking his will back. I said, you need to do this. He said, yeah, but. And I remembered what somebody told me. Anything after the word but is bullshit. And so he took off. He got the big 3 too. He got the girlfriend, the car, the job, right? And he stopped coming. And I got a phone call one morning, and he was found in a hallway on the west side, and whoever was using with him left him, and he was without oxygen to his brain for like 20 minutes. Right, he was a John Doe for 2 days. And his girlfriend called him and said she didn't have the courage to go down there and identify him. So I went down to the hospital, and it was him, right? And there I was, talking to his family, talking to his kids, saying all this groovy NA stuff. Hold on to the hope, right? But I knew he was gone, right? And for 6 days straight, I would go home in my apartment and just fall on the floor crying. And if you want to learn what powerlessness is, that's what that is, right? And I remember what they said, we got to accept the fact that once in a while that one of these guys dies, right? So yeah, I'm a tough guy, I can handle it. Here I am holding this kid's hand. Well, they're shutting off his life support, right? It fucking rocked me. It rocked me, right? I got home. I laid in bed and my phone was ringing the next morning, and it was people from this program, right? And one call was my sponsor, and he goes, how you doing, boy? I said, I'm tired, Joe. I'm tired. I got these big red rings around my eyes from crying so much. I'm tired of being strong for other people. And I'm tired of watching my friends die. I said, I don't know if I can do this anymore. I don't know if I can hug these kids anymore. I don't know if I can talk to these newcomers anymore. And then I got mad, right? And I got mad and I got irate. And I said, what the fuck did I get clean for so I could watch everybody fucking die? Joe says to me, I don't know what the answer is to that question. But I'm sure if you keep going, you'll find out. He says, don't stop. He says, your message, your recovery's touched your heart, so don't stop. You'll get that answer, right? So about 6 months later, they handed me this baby boy. And, this is your son, right? So I'm looking at this kid, and all of a sudden, it was no longer about me. It was no more about what I want and what I need is what I could do for him. You know, the world didn't revolve around me anymore. And when she told me she was pregnant, I thought it was the end of the world. But now the world don't spin without her. You know, so you know, I got the answer to that question. So I keep going. You know, I came in here. I was the angry addict. I was the sad addict, right? You know, and I said to my sponsor, I said, man, I got all these memories. He goes, well, you got bad memories. You know what you got to do? You got to make new ones. You got to go out and make new ones. You know what? I do have people who stay. I've been sponsoring Norm for 7 years. He's crazy as fuck, but he's still staying. You know, and I got a service commitment at the jail where, you know, to me it's the front line of this disease, because you see somebody right at the point where they're at just the right amount of pain where they have the desire to stay clean. And I found that, because, you know, it's like, I need that. I need the desire. You know, we had a meeting a couple weeks ago, and they took one guy out of the hole. He's been locked in for 2 weeks. And they let him out to go to an NA meeting. He comes in, sits at the table, and goes, man, I'm glad to be at this NA meeting. I said, do you have some gratitude? He said, yeah. I said, good, because I'm stealing it. I said, thank you. I'm stealing your gratitude. Right? And on Thursday nights, we have I went into the unit where they have all the federal inmates, and these guys are getting sentenced to jail for a long time, right? And we got these numbered topics that we pull, right? So I've got 6 inmates sitting around the table, and my skinny white ass sitting there. And the topic is gratitude, right? We started working around the table. I said, what are you grateful for today, man? He goes, you know what? I'm grateful for my family who didn't give up on me. The next guy says, you know what? I'm grateful for my girlfriend who doesn't stop writing me letters. This one kid says to me, he says he's about 16 years old, and he says to me, he goes, you know, it could be worse. I could be dead. And then it got to be my turn. I said, you know what? I'm grateful for all you guys keeping me clean today. You know, that's it. You know, when it says what is the NA program, it says we're a fellowship of men and women who help each other stay clean. And that's what it is. Where there's nobody greater or less than anybody in here. Because, you know, on any given night, I could be the sickest addict in a room, and the person with 30 days is going to say something that's going to keep me clean today. Newcomers are a constant source of hope. We steal their desire, and you know what? And they wouldn't be coming in here if we didn't believe that this program works. You know, I've been doing this 12 years, you know, and you know, this program promises us, you know, that we'll get a life beyond our wildest dreams. I don't know, my dreams were pretty fucking wild. So, but I got a life I never thought I had. You know what I mean? I'm a father now. My son's 5 years old. When I get out of work, he's waiting on the back of the couch at the window. What are we doing? What are you doing? And you know, when Dad says he shows up, he's there. There's no dollar value on that. You get that. But, I've learned how to look people in the eye and tell them that I love them. I couldn't do that before. I've learned to have real relationships with people instead of hostage ships. You know, holding somebody hostage and see who can get the most control of it. You know, I did that 4th step, that inventory. I got that introduction to myself. You know, and I'm the good, the bad. You know, and I had to learn to start having a healthy relationship with myself before I'm not a damn to anybody else. And so that's just what I do. I cultivate that stuff, right? And I got to the point where, you know, it's like I'm starting to have a relationship with my higher power, right? I was scared of that word God. I mean, when it came time to write on my 3rd step, I was like, man, if there was a God out there, he had forgotten me. Because he wouldn't have had me molested as a kid. I wouldn't have been out on the street at 15 years old. I used to sit in restaurants and watch families with kids sitting there and say, well, that's not for you because the choices you made. There was a lie. These were the lies I used to tell myself to keep me using. You know, I got to be about 10 years clean. And I said, you know, it's like I got clean and everybody else I grew up with is dead, you know. And he goes, my sponsor says, you know, God chose you. You know, I said, my best friend's family, you know, my best friend's entire family sees me as their hope. He goes, and I didn't ask for the fucking job. He goes, God gave you that job. He said, stop believing a lie. These are the things I used to tell myself when I was out there using, that I wasn't going to amount to anything. I wasn't going to be any damn good. I was either going to wind up dead or in jail, and that's not true. This program taught me that. You know, I'm going to sum this up with this. You know, I came in here, you know, I didn't really want the life. I really didn't want to end my life. I just wanted the life I was living to end. And when I realized that, it did. My name's Matt. I'm an addict. I'm grateful to be here. Thank you for letting me.
We'll do a brief moment of silence and say the Serenity Prayer. So you have to be silent first. Prayer.
God, grant us the serenity to accept the things we cannot change, the courage to change the things we can, and the wisdom to know the difference.
Thank you. Merchandise will be open